April 9th, 1942. The tip of the Bataan Peninsula, Philippines. You've been fighting for 99 days without sleep, without food, and without hope. You are part of the battling Bastards of Bataan. No mama, no papa, and no Uncle Sam. When the white flag finally goes up, you think the nightmare is over. You think of a warm meal, a clean bed, and the rules of the Geneva Convention. But as you drop your M1 Garand into the dirt, you look into the eyes of your captor. There is no mercy there, only a cold, crystalline hatred. A Japanese soldier steps forward. He doesn't take your name. He doesn't take your rank. He reaches for the wedding ring on your finger. When it doesn't come off fast enough, he doesn't use soap. He draws a shimmering, razor-sharp katana. Before the blood even hits the dust, you realize the terrifying truth. The surrender wasn't the end of the battle. It was the beginning of a 65-mile massacre that would turn the Philippine jungle into a factory of death. This is the Bataan Death March. And for 75,000 men, the road to hell has just been paved. To understand the atrocity, we have to understand the desperation. By early 1942, the Japanese imperial machine had swept across the Pacific like a tidal wave. But on a tiny, jungle-choked peninsula called Bataan, a ragtag force of 12,000 Americans and 63,000 Filipinos did the impossible. They held out. They were starving, living on quarter rations of moldy rice and mule meat, suffering from malaria, scurvy, and beriberi. General Edward P. King Jr., facing the total annihilation of his skeletal troops, made the hardest decision in American military history. He surrendered the largest force in U.S. history to General Masaharu Hama. But there was a catastrophic cultural collision brewing. To the Americans, surrender was a tactical necessity. To the Japanese, governed by the ancient code of Bushido, surrender was the ultimate cowardice. A soldier who surrendered had no soul, no rights, and deserved no life. The Japanese had planned for 25,000 prisoners. They found Sachtba San 5,000. Their solution? Clear the administrative hurdle by marching them 65 miles north to Camp O'Donnell. No trucks, no water, no mercy. April 10th. The march begins. The heat is a physical enemy. 105 degrees with 90% humidity. The Japanese introduce a torture they call the sun treatment. They force the men to sit in the white-hot dust of the open road for hours. If you move toward the shade of a tree, you're shot. If you try to put on a hat for cover, a guard knocks it off with a rifle butt. Then there is the thirst. The peninsula is dotted with artesian wells, gushing, cool, life-saving water. I saw a boy, couldn't have been more than 19, break rank. He ran for a well. He didn't even get a sip. The guard didn't say a word, just lunged. The bayonet went clean through his back and out his chest. The water in that trough turned red in seconds. We were forced to march past him, smelling the iron in his blood, and the water we couldn't have. This wasn't random violence, it was systematic. The cleaning squads followed behind the main columns. Their job to tidy up the road. If a man stumbled, if he collapsed from malaria, if he stopped to relieve his dysentery-racked bowels, the cleaning squad moved in. A pistol shot to the head or a bayonet to the gut. By day 3, the road is lined with human markers. Corpses flattened by Japanese tank treads, deliberately steered over the fallen to break the spirit of the living. But here's the part the history books often gloss over. The incredible heroism of the Filipino civilians. As the walking ghosts passed through villages, Filipino men and women risked everything. They would stand by the road, tossing small balls of rice or pan de sal into the ranks. They hid bamboo tubes of water in the tall grass. The Japanese responded with medieval cruelty. They would tie Filipino civilians to trees and force the American prisoners to watch as they were executed. Yet the help didn't stop. This was a shared agony. For every American who fell, 5 Filipinos died beside him. They were brothers in blood, bound by a road that was eating them alive. But as the survivors reached the town of San Fernando, they thought the worst was over. They saw the trains. They saw the metal boxcars. They thought they were finally going to ride to safety. They were wrong. The Boxcars of Death were about to become a claustrophobic tomb. The Japanese pushed 100 men into steel boxcars designed for 40. They slid the doors shut and locked them. Inside there is no air. The heat inside the metal boxes rises to 120 degrees. Men suffering from dysentery have no choice but to stand in their own filth. there is no room to sit. When men die, and they die by the dozens, they don't fall. They are held upright by the crush of the living. When the doors finally opened at Kappas, the living and the dead spilled out together in a heap of tangled limbs. From there, it was a final 9-mile shuffle to Camp O'Donnell. But O'Donnell wasn't a sanctuary. It was a graveyard. Captain Yoshio Tsuneyoshi, the camp commander, told the survivors, "You are the eternal enemies of Japan. You will never see your homes again." In the Zero Ward, the camp hospital with no medicine, men died at a rate of 400 per day. The battling bastards were now just numbers in a ledger of atrocity. By the time the march and the initial weeks at the camp were over, nearly 20,000 men were gone. The Japanese thought they had broken these men. They were wrong. The survivors of Bataan would endure 3 more years of hell. Slave labor in Japan, the hell ships, and starvation. But they carried the story of the road with them. When the war ended in 1945, General Masaharu Homma was held accountable. He was tried for war crimes and executed by firing squad in 1946. But the true victory wasn't the execution of a general. It was the survival of the spirit. Today, a massive cross stands on Mount Samat in the Philippines, looking down over the road where the Bataan Shuffle took place. It stands as a reminder that even in the face of absolute depravity, when every right is stripped away and death is the only certainty, the human will to endure is the one thing no empire can ever truly conquer. The Bataan Death March was a 65-mile testament to the worst of humanity, and the best of it. We remember the names of the fallen not because they lost a battle, but because they won the war for their dignity. May we never have to walk in their footsteps.